Hey everybody, welcome to the Shallow End, where we talk about whatever we want. I'm Matt, and with me today I have my friend Mel,
Hi, everyone.
and we're gonna talk about a couple of things that one of them is pretty far outside the realm of what we usually talk about, and one of them is nestled right in there. But we're taking it easy. It's been a heck of a week, and I am ready to relax. How have things been going for you, Mel?
Uh, it's been quite a week as well for me, and yeah, I'm definitely ready to just enjoy the 4 day weekend that I made for myself. I know everyone's jealous.
That is phenomenal. I think everyone is a little jealous. I also have a 4 day weekend, but I worked 12 hours a day to get there, so I earned it. I did it. Uh, Looking forward to tomorrow. Tomorrow is my birthday. I'll be turning 36, and you
I
know,
don't know if I've actually known when your birthday actually was. I'm sure you've mentioned in the
yeah,
past, but
yeah. And
well,
go ahead.
I was just say, well, happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll be 36, which is 300 in internet years, and
Right.
and I was actually born on an election day, so my dad remembered my birthday 3 days early because he thought it was on election day since I was born on election day, and I'm like, no, that's election day is always on Tuesday, Dad, while birthdays move around because of the calendar. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It should be exciting. I
I,
say we should probably get into the first topic and see what is going on with the first one that we have to talk about. Left to repair. This is the topic that Mel brought to the table. I want you to go ahead and give the background on this, Mel. What are we talking about here?
so a few days ago, I found someone on a video on YouTube that was just about this guy. He's like, I think he's like a general tech guy, but he does a lot of stuff with smartphones. And he bought two of the new iPhone 12, and his goal was to try and find out how easy to repair these phones are. And so what he did is got them out of the box, opened them up, which was an adventure in itself, apparently, even for him, just to get them open, and he swapped out the logic boards between the two phones. Just swapped them between the two new phones. And when he turned them on, he found just gobs of errors, like the FaceTime wouldn't work, the Face ID check wouldn't work, the cameras themselves, like he couldn't go into portrait mode. There was all kinds of issues with it, including like he couldn't even turn the phone on. He had to plug it in to the computer before it would turn on again. And so he messed with a bunch of other things and put everything back together to make sure everything would still work fine. And when he put everything back the way it came, everything worked perfectly fine. And so it appears as though what Apple has done is made their phones almost impossible to repair if you don't send them to Apple for repair.
Yeah, so I did end up watching this video, and it was actually really super interesting just to see like the care that he was taking them apart and putting them back together again. But yeah, he switched the logic boards in them, and then after he switched them back and saw that they were working okay, he switched the other pieces into the different phones. So rather than moving the logic board, he moved the cameras and the things around, and had the same issues that he was having. And some of the issues include like the face recognition software not working and not allowing you to set it up, the panoramic not working at zoom levels, there being several camera issues, and even switching the front and back camera could cause similar issues with that bit at least. Yeah, and it does appear like so. Apple so far hasn't said anything about having to send your product to the Apple Store, but they also haven't said anything about what they have seemingly done with the
Yeah.
the phone. And this all leads into an interesting thing called right to repair. And Mel's familiar with this, but I learned about it pretty much last night. And it's the notion that third party repairers have been getting there have been more and more products put out without the ability for you to repair them from a third party source. And a lot of that problem is apparently tied to companies creating situations so that their computer technology can't be stolen, essentially. Like, in order to make it so that proprietary equipment doesn't, like, get copied or cloned or whatever.
Mhm.
They that's the excuse that they use for creating the software and hardware issues that keep you from being able to fix it at home. But the intentional upside of that is what I'm going to call it, is that you can only get your phone repaired through the main brand, which not only means when they stop supporting the system, it can no longer be fixed by anybody, but you'll have to pay them whatever their absorbent repair fees are in order to get what you want.
Right.
So, I was talking to someone about this the other night, last night, and he mentioned that this isn't just like things that you would normally think of, like phones and computers and televisions, although these are all things that are on the list, but also like bigger things like John Deere tractors, like harvest combiners and stuff, because they have uh, computer systems in them now. Everything runs on
Right.
computers. So if your John Deere harvest combiner breaks down, you've got to take it to a John Deere specialist to get it fixed. You cannot fix it yourself, and you cannot get anyone else to fix it because of this proprietary issue. And that's a super bummer.
Yeah. Like I was thinking about it as far as like the right to repair thing. It's just like if companies were completely upfront about this sort of thing, I wouldn't I still wouldn't really agree with it because once you buy something, it's yours. You should be able to fix it. Like never mind like taking to a third party service provider. Like if I have the know-how and the capability to replace the parts inside of my phone, I should be able to do so. I shouldn't be forced to have somebody else do it when I'm perfectly capable to.
Mm,
But the biggest problem, at least with the specifically this iPhone thing, is just that like they're not saying that they're doing it at all. They're like if they were completely upfront and said, "Hey, by the way, if you buy this product, we're the only ones who can repair it. You can't take it to anybody else, just so you know." And then like, well, you bought the product, so you agreed to those terms.
mm,
But they're not doing that, and it doesn't seem like like I didn't even know actually this was extending to things like John Deere tractors. That's crazy. But like nobody's saying it that way. Like you said, they're just using that excuse of protect proprietary technology, but that only goes so far when you're not being upfront about your practices.
right. And, it reminds me of conversations we've had before about like digital gaming, and like a lot of the reasons some people decide not to go into buying their games digitally is that they don't want to feel like they're renting their games, right? Like they don't want to
Right.
feel like as soon as the system isn't supported anymore, they can't play their stuff, which I have had. Like I had Fez digitally on Xbox 360. When my Xbox 360 stopped working, I no longer have Fez, right?
Right.
And that's like that is a downside to the digital gaming thing, but this goes to show that like even hard goods that you hard buy are starting to have this sort of attachment to it where it's you're still really just renting it, because once they stop supporting it, you can't even like go to a well I always think of watchsmiths, right, when it comes to this
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
like this isn't in our day, but my dad's day, when his watch would break, he could go to a watchsmith and they would take the thing apart, find pieces that fit, and put it back together and fix it.
Right.
And now you would never do that. Like you would just buy a new watch if your watch broke, or maybe send it in to the company that you bought it from and get it fixed if it was cheap enough. But we're seeing, I can see the age of a bespoke phone smith being over within short time if this continues, because they can't do anything about it. It's not like they can, like, sue Apple and be like, you keeping your logic boards locked to a phone is directly interfering with my level of business.
Right.
They're small fry, Apple's Apple. Even if they had a leg to stand on, which I don't know if they do or not, it would be short
Well,
lived.
they don't yet. That's kind of the whole point of the right to repair argument, and like there are lawsuits and laws that are being like worked on to try and address this issue. So
Yeah, and yeah, my friend last night actually turned me to another one, and I'll link Lewis's YouTube channel. I can't remember his last name. Rossman, I think that's it. Lewis Rossman. But he is a hard proponent for the right to repair, and he does a bunch of videos that are showing like hearings where he's talking about the right to repair, and it actually is pretty good because it also shows the rest of the hearings. So it shows people who are fighting against the right to repair. It shows the arguments of these giant tech companies, and it's a very interesting and nuanced situation. But I think at the end of the day, it is better if you owning something meant that you had some right of expecting it to work properly, to last a certain amount of time, and to be able to be repaired if the parts exist.
or to take it even just a little step further, to be able to do with said product what you would like.
Right.
Like imagine if all computers worked that way, there'd be no customization. You
Mm-hmm.
couldn't upgrade a part to be the part that you wanted to. You couldn't change the case because you wanted to look a certain way, because then everything would stop working inside.
Absolutely.
Like if you paid for it, it's yours. You should be able to do with it what you want.
Right. And from what I understand, Apple has been doing this for years and years. We just look at MacBooks as an example. MacBooks have always been, as far as I can remember, which is fairly far back, have always been like weirdly specially crafted pieces for the MacBook. So you would never use anything from a MacBook in any PC ports. Like it's
Right.
just yeah. Or
Sorry.
you or no, you're fine. Or you'd have to find some sort of way to connect them, right? Like to make them work for the pieces that you want.
Yeah, I was gonna say like with the MacBook. I mean that's a large part of why it is that PCs have actually generally been more popular or more sold than Macs, is because their parts are interchangeable. And Apple has purposefully gone against that to make it be their own thing. They want to do their own thing and take away the market share essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So
And one of the benefits of that for Apple, but also for the consumer of Apple, is that the price of a previous gen thing doesn't go down by a ton. I remember my friend was looking for a Mac computer to do some editing stuff on, and we found one that was like 2 generations back, and it was still like $400-$500. And when I'm saying 2 generations back, I'm not saying 2 years back, 2 models of Apple back,
right.
whatever that is, however long that is. And it was still almost as much as a brand new kind of low level PC is.
Yeah, I mean I've seen laptops at like places like Micro Center that are $250,
Yeah,
and that's a current laptop.
right. And so it boggles my mind. I'm interested to see where this goes in the future. I'm actually gonna look more into that right to repair and see if there's anyone that you can support or push, help make things happen. Because I think the world I want to live in is the world where you can get your stuff fixed.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
oh man. All right. Anything else you want to touch on this topic on?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay. We're going to move straight into the next one then. Gratuitous lack of energy. So, Kaladesh Remastered was announced for Magic Arena. It's actually been announced for a while. They have the full spoiler out now, I believe. And we we know what cards are in it and we know what cards are not in it. So, for those who don't know, a remastered set on Arena is they take the block that was that grouping. Like, it's not even a block necessarily, because in this case it's two sets, right? Kaladesh and Aether Revolt. And they put them together and shave out cards that they think will either interrupt the constructed experience or interrupt the drafting experience. And then they ship it out as one big set. Okay. So Amonkhet Remastered was Amonkhet and Hour of Devastation with these cards shaved out. And then like 10 cards put in from Magic's history with an Amonkhet design, but they were just extra cards added to enhance the experience, right? And Amonkhet Remastered did really, really well. So rather than them putting out Pioneer Masters, which they said they were going to do, which was going to kind of give Magic Arena the ability to play Pioneer, they instead put in Kaladesh Remastered. They're putting in Kaladesh Remastered, which is Kaladesh and Aetherbolt, in the same way, right? So we know what cards are not going to be in Kaladesh Remastered, and I have a few of those pulled up because I wanted to talk about something specific. Now, Mel, what's your experience with Kaladesh? Do you know anything about the way the set worked?
Well, I guess we should first do a little background. I play a lot of trading card games, have all my life, basically as long as Matt has, and I played Magic for a long time as well, but I got out of Magic 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago now, however long ago.
Yeah.
I've been out of Magic for a while. I still play trading card games. I've kept up on Magic a little bit here and there, but I'm mostly at this point the opinion of one who is retired.
Yeah.
As far as Kaladesh itself goes, I don't think I have much experience with Kaladesh.
So Kaladesh itself came out, I want to say 3 years ago now, in that area, and so you and I both missed it. You know, like I was on my break. You've been retired since then, and so I didn't get to play this when it came out. So I was kind of super excited to see how some of this stuff worked, because there were problems during the Kaladesh standard that were caused by the constructed cards being a little too pushed and having some issues. There was a card called Smuggler's Copter, which is a vehicle. You crew vehicles by tapping creatures with power. And it's like, oh, this is crew 2, so you need to have at least 2 power worth of creatures tapped in order for this to become a creature and be able to use this vehicle, right?
Sounds like a cool mechanic.
Yeah, but the Smuggler's Copter was a vehicle that had flying, I think. It was a 1/1. It was real cheap to bring out and real easy to crew. And whenever you attacked with it, you could loot. People called it the looter scooter.
I approve.
And it was just too good. It was making the games move way too fast. So them not returning cards like that in Kaladesh, I completely understand. Into the remastered set. There was also Felidar Guardian. The set had a lot of blink effects. And Felidar Guardian was a quick blink creature. And it paired really well with the Planeswalker in that set, Saheeli Rai. So Saheeli made it so that you could blink a creature with her minus ability. And it would come back immediately. Felidar Guardian is when it enters the battlefield, blink anything. Oh, I'm sorry. So Felidar Guardian blinks something immediately. Saheeli Rai makes a copy of a creature or an artifact that has haste until end of turn. So you play.
Okay, does it go away at end of turn?
I believe so. Yes, it goes away at the end of the turn. So what you do is you get Saheeli Rai out, you make a copy of Felidar Guardian, blink Saheeli Rai, bring her back, make a copy of Felidar Guardian, blink Saheeli Rai, bring it back, and you end up with infinite number of Felidar Guardians with haste, and you swing for a billion. Yeah. So
I mean, 2 card infinite combo is typically not a good idea to have in your game.
yeah, and even if it was 3 colors, it was pretty easy to pull about. So
Mm-hmm.
they didn't bring back Feldar Guardian. It had already been banned in Pioneer. They weren't even going to pretend like we were going to be able to play it in Historic. I appreciate that. And they wanted to be able to print Saheeli, so taking out Feldar Guardian makes it so that we can get Saheeli Rai, which I like Saheeli, so I think that's fine. But the other big thing I wanted to talk, what the sort of the purpose of this one is talking about energy. So energy counters are another type of counter in Magic because of Kaladesh. Certain cards would give you energy, and you just store it up and keep it off to the side. And then certain cards were payoffs for energy that you would pay a certain amount of energy to get some kind of effect. So just as an example, I'll show you one of the first cards that isn't coming back, Aether Geode Miner. When it attacks, you gain 2 energy, and you can pay 2 energy to blink Aether Geode Miner. So theoretically, if you're not storing up a bunch of energy, you're using it right away, so you're attacking with this 3/1, and if your opponent doesn't block, you're fine. You keep the energy and you get 3 damage in. And if they block you and you don't want to lose Miner, you just pay that energy, blink them, and get them out of combat, right?
Mm-hmm.
No harm, no foul. All of these cards in a vacuum are okay. They're fine. But apparently there were cards that caused a lot of issues. So a lot of the cards that we're going to be looking at are cards that produce energy or are payoffs for energy. Now, they didn't completely eliminate the energy mechanic from Kaladesh, which was a good thing because you don't want to get rid of every single card that was your mainstay mechanic from that set, right? The 2 major effects from that set were vehicles and energy. But I was a little worried because I started looking through the cards that that were given. That's a revolt card, but we have that, which is an energy producer that gets +1/+1 if you pay 2 energy when it attacks. Another one that gets +1/+1 counters when you pay the energy when it attacks. Just +2/+0, not a big deal. And then they got rid of some of these bigger payoffs, like pay 8 energy.
All cards that were gotten rid of.
Yeah, these are all cards that were gotten rid of. Yeah. So this is one that I was kind of thrown off by them getting rid of. So this has basically landfall, get an energy, right? Mm-hmm. And then pay 8 energy, create a 6/6 colorless beast artifact creature token. Now, if they had kept all of the small energy makers in the set, and then they got rid of this, I get it. Because this is a big payoff, but if you have 117 energy, and you're able to be like, okay, it's the end of your turn, you're all tapped out, create 15 6/6 beasts, and then move into my turn, swing for game. Right? Like, that I can understand that being a problem, but they've gotten rid of so many cards that produce, little bits of energy. And I don't know if they have anything that they kept that has any sort of like infinite energy situations. Right? So if we got rid of all of these like minuscule energy bits, why did we also get rid of the ones that have really good payoffs for storing energy?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I can think of there is perhaps those cards are then so hard to play they're borderline useless, and so they're just getting rid of trimming the fat a bit for the set.
Yeah,
is a reason they could be using to gotten rid of those cards.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but then it begs the question then, like, why, like, if they're just getting rid of all the cards then at that point, it's like, what is the point of keeping energy in the set at all if you can't generate energy and there's nothing to use energy for?
Right, exactly. And then there's one big energy card that is staying in the set. Let me see if I can bring this up real quick. Uh, it doesn't know what I'm talking about. Did I mean that card? I sure did.
Matt, you so crazy.
So, this is still in the set. Aetherworks Marvel. Uh, when a permanent you control is put in the graveyard, you get an energy. You can pay 6 energy, look at the top 6 cards of your library, cast a card from among them without paying its mana cost, put the rest on the bottom of the deck in any order. Now, this
Okay.
card caused a lot of issues during Kaladesh because there was so much incidental energy gain and so many ways to loop energy to get like a good amount of infinite energy.
Yeah,
And
I
then,
could have told you that was going to happen
yeah,
without even having seen the set. Like,
yeah. So, like in Pioneer, you would see something like this tied with Ulamog, which we do have in Historic. For whatever reason, they decided Ulamog was okay for Historic. So you pay 6 energy and tap this, get to cast a free Ulamog, exile 2 creatures, and then you have Ulamog on the board to deal with, which, if you don't remember, is a 10/10 indestructible that whenever it attacks, your opponent mills 20 cards into the exile zone.
yep.
Yeah, so
I remember we had some fun with that in Two-Headed Giant.
pretty good. Not bad, not a bad card. And so the fact that this is still around means that they don't necessarily want to just destroy energy, but this can be abused in Historic. In comparison, something that gives you uh, the 7 cost green card I showed that gives you beasts is weak T, to say the least, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, it's 2 and a green to get out, and it has landfall getting energy, but its payoff is so lame in comparison to the payoff of Aetherworks Marvel, where you just get to cast whatever from your deck. And maybe they're just trying to keep energy decks from being just like shattered in historic format, or even in limited. Maybe they were just like, well, Aetherworks Marvel is not a broken card in limited because you're not playing a bunch of broken cards, but it will slip into a constructed format. So I just don't I don't follow their logic train real well.
Yeah, me neither, really. Like I've had a lot of opinions in the past about how bad Wizards is at balancing their game. And this card's a pretty good example. Like I could have told you from the moment that like showing me no other energy cards, I could look at that card and say anything outside of a standard format, this card's going to be super busted.
Right,
You
right.
know, and even in the standard format, it has potential to be really busted. You
For sure.
know, so it's cool to have these like super awesome effects in there. But where Wizards I find keeps getting themselves into trouble is when they have cards that make other cards free.
Yeah. I think I heard someone say this the other day, and I kind of agree with it to a point. They were saying that Wizards used to build sets with ideas in them, but not like a deck idea in mind. So it
Mm-hmm.
would be like, hey, here's some Bloodthirst cards, right? And Bloodthirst is a cool mechanic, but you might not build a deck out of all of the Bloodthirst cards in Innistrad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, some of them would just be bad, like they wouldn't help you, it'd be off color, or whatever. Um, but now they build sets thinking you're going to use 4 of these, 2 of these, and then a regular control shell to build this deck. And this deck is going to be like a defining archetype of the set. And by doing so, it creates a lot of issues with the power level of those cards.
Yeah, it does, and that's also that's not a good design philosophy in general. I think because that is too much of doing the player's work for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know you haven't played Teamfight Tactics much, but
Mm-hmm.
I've played it a bit. And the one of the developers, he frequently streams. I went to stream once, and just people can ask him questions and he answers them.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I asked him once, which was just more or less because I was curious what his answer was going to be, is if they had considered putting in a tooltip or whatever that tells the player how many of a particular character is left in the pool that you can randomly get when you roll the shop every turn. You know,
Mm-hmm.
people who understand team fights will know what all that means. But um, anyway, it happens. He said that they don't want to do that because then that's just telling the player what's left and what they can go for. It's building the player's strategy for them,
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of ways, that defeats the purpose of just playing a game in general. You're supposed to be finding your own strategy. You're supposed to be figuring things out. You're supposed to build a deck that you want to play, or if you prefer, build somebody else's deck and tweak it so that it fits your playstyle. It's still supposed to be you doing the work, though. And if they're building a set now with the idea in mind, they are trying to lead the player towards a particular kind of deck, or they're expecting them to play a certain kind of deck, it kind of takes something away from it.
Mm-hmm. And I do wonder because Kaladesh is the first set to fall into the fire philosophy that they use for current Magic,
Mm-hmm.
and I wonder if this is a byproduct of the fire philosophy because the fire philosophy is supposed to be something that aids the development of sets to make drafting more fun because
Okay.
most people do draft like like it's a big thing to play draft in a standard set. So if you haven't heard it, fire stands for like fun, interesting, repeatable, and exciting. So those that's FIRE, fire.
Mm-hmm.
And they think about that while sculpting the cards for a set. So something like Aetherworks Marvel or even this Architect of the Untamed, the one that makes 6/6 tokens, these could be things that they are looking at. Like if you're playing a draft and you get yourself an Architect of the Untamed, which is a rare, you slam it down. You've been building up all this energy through the course of the game and saving it, and now you can get 3/6/6 on the boards and swing for 18, and it feels so good to have worked toward this goal and get things going, right? And in draft, that's true because you're not going to get more than one, probably.
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not likely you're going to get things like rares or mythic rares at a max standard because whatever energy cards you want, your opponent 2 seats down also wants. So they'll keep you out of it, you'll keep them out of it, and both of you will make a mediocre deck. But Constructed doesn't have that problem.
Right.
Constructed is not limited by the cards that you get from your opponent 2 seats down from you, who remembers that you won the last 3 drafts that you guys played in together. Nor is it seeded by the kid who always takes a card if it's rare or mythic rare, even if it's out of color or doesn't fit their deck scheme or is incredibly too expensive or is a nombo. He doesn't care. He wants the rares, he wants the mythics. So, right. But Constructed isn't limited by that, and Constructed can build whatever they want. So if they want to shove 4 of Architect of the Untamed in with 4 copies of Aetherworks Marble and a Paradox Engine, which is a card that's not coming back from the set, and whatever else, they can do that because all they have to do is get the card and it's theirs, and they can run as many copies as they want.
Right.
So I think that it's possible this is where, now that I've seen Kaladesh in sort of an overarching thing, I now have a full idea of how the fire philosophy has been affecting Magic. And I do think that this is a reminiscent of that. I think that's why Omnath from the new set was so good and possibly just busted and OP because it had 4 different effects on it. 3 of them that went off from Landfall because they were like, well, people are going to want to play Landfall. Landfall is back. We love Landfall. Let's make a creature that signals playing Landfall in a multicolored deck. Which maybe wasn't the best idea,
Yeah.
I still almost entertain that if Omnath didn't have Enter the Battlefield, draw a card on him, he'd almost be unplayable. Like the fact that he replaces himself in the hand when he
Mhm.
comes out is the biggest advantage that he gives, I think personally. But
Yeah, I mean, well, that itself is an effect that I think people, and I think actually the developers at Wizards often undervalue. You
mm-hmm,
know, because so much of just playing games in general is card advantage. You
mm-hmm,
know, you have more cards in hand than your opponent, you're probably in a position to win.
mm-hmm.
You know, and so replacing yourself, regardless of what body you put on the field, is a pretty nice effect.
Right. And I mean, even in M20, when they did the elemental subtype deck, even if you were only running the best elementals you could, you were still probably running Cloudkin Seer because it was 2 and a blue for a 2/1 flyer that drew you a card when it entered the battlefield.
Right.
So it replaces itself. It's a 2/1 flyer and it's an elemental. Sign me up. Like get me on board. So I don't know if I necessarily have a concluding thought to this situation, but I think that the idea of holding up these cards and all like stoppage of cool effects because you want cooler effects in is maybe not the right way to go about it. Like,
Yeah, no, I agree. And actually, it kind of makes me wonder, at least as far as Arena is concerned, why don't they just do things separately? You know, like so often it happens in games where you have multiple modes,
mm-hmm,
and they try and balance everything around all of those modes, the different ways people play and all that.
mm-hmm,
But it's so hard to do because what works well in one mode doesn't work so well in another. You know,
mm-hmm.
like so why in here since this card would be cause problems in constructed, all right, fine. So it's not in constructed Kaladesh Remastered, but put it in draft Kaladesh Remastered.
Right.
Like they have the case. Like you wouldn't do that in paper Magic because you can't change the set like that. But
Yep.
this is electronic. They can change anything they want at any given point in time. So why not just tweak the set numbers for when they're actually doing draft, where the cards aren't as big of a problem.
Yeah. And I think that works the other way too, because a couple of the cards I'm going to show here at the end are not energy cards, but they are cards that are not in the set that people would want for historic. They'd want to be able to use it in constructed, but in limited, it's kind of whatever. Like it doesn't fit the thing. So let me pull up one of
Right.
these real quick. That's not it. So something like this could be a little backbreaking in limited if you have the ability to ramp the way you're supposed to. It's a 5/5 7 cost angel with flying. If you would lose the game, instead exile Exquisite Archangel and you become full life again. So like this in Brawl, this in limited is really mean because your opponent has wasted all their resources at this point to kill you, and if you can just be like, oh, I'll just exile this and go back up to 20, that feels bad. But
Yeah, it does, and that's definitely an effect that is easier to get around in a constructed format.
right, I mean,
Because
dies to removal, right?
well, not just dies to removal. Even it's just that in limited, if you just about the only way you're gonna die in limited is through an alpha swing,
Mm-hmm.
of some kind,
Yep.
and so you're like, all right, well, no blocks, no damage, I'm back at 20.
Right.
Move on, and then you have a huge advantage now. Whereas in constructed, there are so many other ways that you can build up like a potential win condition. Like even through combat, like you can plan ahead, know you're only going to do just enough damage here, and then next turn you're ready to take them down.
Right.
Whereas in limited, you generally don't have that happen.
Right. Yeah, your resources aren't just tanked in constructed. Let's see. Other things like it. That's not the one I'm looking for. These are all the energy ones. What happened to my nice little list of cool things? I must have gotten rid of it. But like one of the things I had shown earlier was a white creature that it had a blink effect to it. So its ability was you get a +1/+1 counter whenever something comes back. Here it is. Whenever another creature you control leaves the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Ninth Bridge Patrol. So it starts as a 1/1 for 2, which is garbage. But if you're blinking a lot, it gets bigger and bigger. And if you're losing creatures to the graveyard, it gets bigger and bigger. This is not a bad card. But with,
it's a very strong limited card, actually.
yeah, but that's the thing is I think they took this out because they took out um a lot of the blink effects in limited. Not all of them, but a fair number of the blink effects are gone. So they were like, "Oh, Ninth Bridge Patrol won't be anything." But in historic, there are still blink effects. There's plenty of blink effects. Like we could make this work.
Yeah.
And it would be janky, but that's kind of the fun of playing historic. So, like, the idea that we can't get this is a thing. And I heard a streamer talking about this, and he mentioned that he thinks that they should take all these cards that they think are bad for limited but good for constructed, and make them rewards for playing events that cost money. So it's like, okay, you played a sealed event. Here's 2 copies of Ninth Bridge Patrol. You want if you want to play draft, here's a couple copies of another card that we don't want to put into the limited set, but maybe you'll want for your collection. And then that way they're introducing it into historic the way that they want to, without it being a bore or a boon in limited, whatever it may do to the limited format. So I think that's a great idea. I wish Wizards had more people with feelers out in the community, because sometimes, like, a lot of the community comes up with garbage, but some of the community comes up with some really, really dope ideas. And like that one, they already have sort of the implementation in process, because when you played Ikoria on Arena, every time you played a sealed event, you got a card art style, the Godzilla styles, from playing those sealed events for a limited time.
Right.
And you could also do the same thing with Zendikar lands from this past set, Zendikar Rising. You get a Zendikar land art for every sealed event you played. And it's like, they could just do that with cards that they don't want to introduce in limited but do want in the format. And then it gives us everyone a reason to put gems into the game and gold into the game, which that sounds like a win-win to me for Wizards, but I don't know. Maybe they're worried about backlash from the community. Sometimes I heard some people I respect quite a bit say, if you measured all reactions on things that happen in the Magic community from 1 to 10, 1 being something that's not really that big of a deal, and 10 being like an actual problem that they should really deal with, all players will respond to it at an 8, no matter what it is. So if it's super important, they'll try to make it sound like it's not that big of a deal, but if it's a 1, oh man, like, I think that's pretty right as a whole, when you look at the community as a whole. Oh man. But I'm super hype about this set. The set comes out on Thursday. I'll probably, not today, but next week. And I'll probably be streaming my sealed games, because I always play a ridiculous amount of sealed on the first couple weeks the set's out, because after the first couple weeks they take away sealed, which I really wish they wouldn't do. I want to play sealed. I don't want to draft. I like drafting, but I don't want to draft. I want to play sealed.
Yeah. I think I'd probably prefer that too, if I'm honest. Like, I like drafting, but I like drafting in Paper Magic. Like, it kind of loses something when you're not actually sitting there at the table with the other guys.
Yeah. Like, I mean, the fact that they have human drafting now on Arena does help. So you're not just drafting against a robot. But there's still no banter. There's still no like.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like just give me the packs. I'll make it happen. But you and I used to play a lot of sealed. Like Two Headed Giant was almost exclusively sealed. So
Yeah,
that was the best way to get things done. Gosh, I love sealed so much.
that was a blast.
All right. Well, I think I'm good. Is there anything you want to throw in here at the end?
No, I don't think so. It does seem a bit of a shame that they are removing as much energy as they are. I think their design philosophy could have been tweaked to have a bit more interesting combination of cards left in the set, based on what you've shown me that they're removing. But that's their decision, I suppose.
Yep. We'll see how it ends up working out in the end. And I'm certain we'll probably see a lot of this stuff come back when they do make Pioneer Masters because it'll give them something to add to buffer that set out, you know?
Yeah,
It'll be like, hey, we know you wanted Knife Bridge Patrol as a common, so here we go.
it's a mythic.
It's been upchucked. Oh man. All right. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Mel. I appreciate you, and it's been a good time.
Yeah,
And
fun.
thanks for everyone for watching. Just as a quick cleanup thing, we do these once a week. We talk about Magic news. We talk about not Magic news. If you're a Magic person that wants to talk about this and come on the show, give me a shout on my email into the knowledge pool at gmail.com, and I'll give it a look and we'll see if we can get you on the show just to kind of talk about things. If you want to support the channel, please like, share, subscribe, write a comment, do the bell thing, whatever that is. And, just engage. Like, just letting us know that you're in the comments listening and that you're enjoying it will do a lot for the channel, and it'll tell YouTube that people do want to watch what's happening here. I also have a Ko-fi, link in the description below. If you want to support the channel financially, give us a couple bucks. We'll gladly use it to make the channel better. So from here at the Knowledge Pool to you guys at home, we'll see you next time.
Take care.